Refrigeration units too warm due to load shedding. On 10 March 2023, I read an article on the AgriPulse website where a concern is raised about refrigeration units at abattoirs. Red lights are flashing for the red meat industry, and the regular braai may become very expensive. Load shedding is having a serious impact on the operation of refrigeration units, which is essential to the red meat industry. Red lights are also increasingly flashing for economic growth and food security in South Africa. In the midst of Eskom's ongoing load shedding and its impact on the primary agricultural industry and value chain. Industries that are dependent on irrigation and energy-intensive industries are being brought to their knees. The result of load shedding is therefore tangible and leads to financial as well as operational challenges in these industries. Cold chains that need to be maintained in the red meat value chain suffer as a result. Gerard Schutte, the executive head of the Red Meat Producers Organization, says that the industry is in a favorable position due to the fact that the production is not directly affected by load shedding. He noted that as far as feedlots are concerned, it's about mixing feed and distributing it to the feedlots. And this can be done during load shedding. So load shedding does not have a very big impact until they reach the abattoir. He believes that load shedding is affecting the abattoir's ability to function effectively. And in the process, the entire cold chain is placed in a less favorable position from there to the consumer. The bad news is that this contributes to red meat being more and more expensive for the consumer, while it does not bring any extra income to the farmer. The product becomes more expensive in retail due to the inefficiency of the value chain, which is burdened with higher costs while the farmer bears the brunt. Dr. Gerard Neetling, General Manager of the Red Meat Abattoir Association, in an interview with AgriOrbit, noted that about 410 abattoirs in South Africa are currently responsible for supplying healthy and safe red meat. This meat forms an important part of the country's protein needs. However, red meat regulations in terms of the Meat Safety Act must be met. Among other things, the law stipulates that carcasses must be cooled to 7 degrees Celsius before a product may be distributed to customers. Although not mandatory, organ meats are also further processed and cooled at most of these facilities. He said that apart from cooling, the normal operation of larger abattoirs is also further dependent on continuous energy supply. Several mechanized processes are also in place to ensure better quality and safe product. Equipment hygiene is also heavily dependent on hot water or water at least 82 degrees Celsius. All of this is threatened by load shedding. According to him, the slaughtering process can still be accomplished during power outages, but the cooling process is a continuous process, and fluctuations during the cycle pose unacceptable health and quality risks. Neetling believes that the increased cost related to energy supply, as well as the inability of the consumer to pay additional costs, have already led to about 30 abattoirs being forced to close in the past 5 years. Although the use of generators has been a norm in abattoirs for some time, the pressure has increased as power outages become more frequent and longer. Infrastructure expansion in terms of energy generation is required to relieve the additional costs forced due to generators. According to Neethling, the rise in costs has resulted in a drop in red meat production, and some facilities have started reducing their workforce. The sustainable provision of food has also been severely affected due to the continuous increase in costs. The abattoir industry has been attempting to absorb these costs, but the ongoing impact is putting significant pressure on them. That is the end of the information from the article. Now, my concerns are load shedding is starting to cause more damage to the economy of this country than we think. Load shedding is now starting to threaten the food security in our country. It is time for the government to stop treating load shedding like a political problem and allow Eskom to get the skills on board to fix what needs to be fixed. The SAPS needs to take action against cable theft and illegal connections. Most importantly, BEE policies at Eskom should immediately be dropped and skilled labour allowed to be employed, irrespective of their colour. This is a crisis, and BEE is causing more harm in this process.